On behalf of IAP technical team, I welcome our today's speaker, Dr. M. Vijay Kumar sir, and our today's moderators are Dr. Pallavi ma'am, Dr. Neha ma'am, Dr. Sheetal ma'am. Welcome you sir and welcome you ma'am. Before hand over to moderator, I request all the participants please like and subscribe IAP India YouTube channel and Facebook page. Now I request to Dr. Pallavi ma'am, please moderate this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, IP team, technical team. Hello. Hello, dear physios. Good morning, all. Myself, Dr. Pallavi Dangat Sadhav, Coordinator, Indian Association of Physiotherapy Women's Cell, Latur District, along with Dr. Neha Singh Mandare and Dr. Sheetal Guleford, Sub-Coordinator, IAP Women's Cell, Latur. Welcomes all of you for today's webinar on surface palpation and diagnosis of shoulder complex, organized by IAP Women's Cell Latur in association with India Maharashtra Institute of Physiotherapy, College of Physiotherapy Latur. We were formed in June 2018 and had conducted various activities under the banner of Maharashtra IAP Women's Cell. Maharashtra IAP Women's Cell was started on 30th May 2018. It functions under the guidance of National Head Dr. Ruchi Vaishnav and IAP President Dr. Sanjeev Jahasar. We have 5 zones in India with the head for each. Dr. Pooja Kamble is the West Zonal Head. IAP Women's Cell works towards conducting the public awareness camps, CMEs, workshops. The aim of IAP is bringing together all the physiotherapy professionals for sharing knowledge and improving public awareness about physiotherapy. The state team of IAPWC Maharashtra includes State Coordinator Dr. Suvarna Ganvir ma'am, Joint Coordinator Dr. Snehal Patel ma'am, and Sub-Coordinator Dr. Uttara Mohan, Dr. Priya Karande, and Dr. Nirali Sanghi. In Maharashtra, IAP Women's Cell has conducted 40 plus low-cost activities in various districts. In first corporate IAP conference held in Indore in April 2019, Maharashtra State received award for Best State of IAPWC. This webinar is also organized in association with Maharashtra Institute of Physiotherapy Latur, which was established in August 2005, situated in the campus of Maharashtra Institute of Medical Sciences, Latur. And it is the first in the Marathwada region to cater the needs of physiotherapy facilities. It is affiliated to MUHS Nashik. The aim of establishment of the institute is to provide opportunities and excellence in the field of physiotherapy to the deserving young men and women in this area. Currently, we are having UG and PG in community physiotherapy courses. Today, I'm honored to introduce an eminent speaker who's passionate academician and a researcher, respected Dr. M. Vijay Kumar sir, a sports physiotherapist. Sir has completed his graduation from MGR Medical University, Chennai in April 2000, in 1997. Done Masters of Sports Physiotherapy from Alagappa University in November 2000. Fellowship and Diploma in Sports Rehabilitation from London Academy of Sports and Health Sciences 2015. PG Diploma in On-Field Sports Injury Management in 2018. PG Diploma in Fitness and Wellness Management in 2019. International Certificate in Bioethics and Human Rights by UNESCO, and he is presently a professor and in charge of movement science in kinesiology department. Also coordinator researcher, coordinator sports at Dr. D.Y. Patil College of Physiotherapy, Pimpri, Pune. Sir is having a 20 years of teaching experience and a clinical training experience and has a keen interest in research, having 29 publications in international journals with 5 ISBN numbered books. He has organized many workshops for a special professional skill training and also have been invited for many physiotherapy conferences as a chairperson and a resource person overall India. Invited as an official senior sports physiotherapist for more than 20 tournaments across India. He has received 8 awards for significant professional contribution, including IAP Award for significant achievement in teaching, research, and sports. Sir, I welcome you on behalf of Indian Association of Physiotherapy Women's Cell, Latur, and MIP College of Physiotherapy, Latur, for today's webinar. An announcement for all the participants. Kindly mute your microphones, switch off your cameras for smooth proceedings of the webinar. Participants can put their questions and queries in the chat box to the organizers, and we will try to answer as much as possible during the question answer session. I now request Dr. Vijay sir to continue with the webinar. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, I would like to submit my thanks to all the organizers, coordinators, support team members of IAP, IAP Women's Cell, and special congratulations to IAP Women's Cell from Maharashtra and Latur branch for taking up active participation and active work in conducting educational series of webinars. And I've been quite keenly watching about the process and progress of your IAP Women's Cell, and you're doing a fantastic job. And I would like to submit my thanks to all the organizers for giving me the opportunity to meet all the professionals across India for taking part in this webinar. This one-hour session, I try to put my best in a more simplified form of anatomy, palpations, and diagnosis of shoulder complexes, such a way that young budding physical therapists will be having a better idea for diagnosing shoulder issues with much easier process, without going on for high-end diagnostic procedures like MRIs and CTs and stuff. So let us go along with the presentation for around 10 minutes to 12 minutes, followed by a little 40 minutes of demonstration on a model on how to palpate the shoulder complexes, the different points of the shoulder complexes, the bony prominences and stuff, and it will be helping for diagnosis and also for therapeutic procedures. So let's go along with the stuff inside. We all know palpation is basically an examination process. We are going to touch, we are going to feel, we are going to exactly perceive what the structure is inside the body without actually opening it out. So palpation is a skill which has to be probably mastered by a physical therapist. So we call it as a fundamental skill for a physical therapist, wherein we'll be able to identify the various areas like body landmarks, your tissues, your tissue structure, your texture, your resilience, your motion, and your contours. Everything can be done, and this is going to be one of the most important skill, and that's what the Journal of Physical Therapy has told us in 2009. And if you could remember, if you could go along with the book written by Hutchinson in 2012, he has said like palpation can help you to diagnose without an X-ray, without an MRI. So if you know the anatomy, if you can palpate the anatomical structure, and you can exactly find where your fingers are at a particular point, and if you know what point it is, and if you know what structure is underlying, probably your diagnosis is complete, and you need not go in for high-end evaluations or high-end investigations, unless and otherwise it's very essential to look in for. So it requires a knowledge, basically. It requires a motor skills. It requires a good perception skills and good cognitive skills. So we physical therapists are expected to do all this evaluation process by just putting your fingers on the body, on the structure, on probably your bony prominence or a tendon or a ligament, and find whether it is going to be injured or not, troubled or not, it's fine or not, so that it will be helping you for either for diagnosis and also for management. Okay, now let's go in for the next one on the need. Now, why do we have to go in for this palpation as a small? Because if you have a sound knowledge on palpations, if you have a sound knowledge of anatomy, if you're clear where you're going to place your fingers on, it will help you for a good physical examination without mistakes. You will be able to go in for a lot of medical procedures of techniques and manipulations and stuff. It will help you for easy diagnosis, and moreover, it will help you for a proper treatment procedure. So imagine, you just put your fingers on, and you're going to identify what the problem is by putting your fingers on, because you know where you're going to keep your finger on the bone, on the tendon, or the ligament, and that will help you for a procedure, that will help you for a diagnosis, that will help you for a management, and what else you wanted, you're done. You need not go in for your a big diagnostic procedures like X-rays and MRIs. Right, next. But we physical therapists, we have been practicing it for so many years, and I could have witnessed in the past 20 years there had been an enormous increase, enormous dynamicity in the physical therapy profession as concerned. Initially, 20 years down the lane, there were small physical therapy departments that has come down to rehabilitation centers. Physical therapy department has got a fantastic infrastructure, and all the professionals are growing heaps and bounds in mastering new techniques, achieving new heights in by practicing fantastic skills like manual therapies, neurodynamics, taping, needling, electrotherapy, exercises. And when you look into all these techniques involve one thing. You palpate, put your finger on the area, you identify what the structure that is underlying into it, helping you for a diagnosis, helping you for a management. So palpation becomes one of the most important skill for any of these manual therapy practices, because we all know we are not surgeons. We are not going to open the body and see what is inside. What we do is observe, palpate, approximately find the structure. You're going to perceive what structure it is, what has happened is, whether it is normal or abnormal, whether it got a normal contour or abnormal contour, and you're going to treat an unseen structure, and your treatment is expected to be perfect. So you're going to treat an unseen structure by just observations, palpations, approximations, perceptions, and of course you're going to analyze with your common skills for exact treatment of unseen structure. That's quite difficult, but by practice nothing becomes very, very difficult. That's what I would like to say. Yeah, but when we know that this is what is essential for it, unfortunately we are not taught so in a curriculum. We don't study so in a curriculum. Nobody has taught us an anatomy. How are you going to palpate a structure of your greater tuberosity of a humerus, lesser tuberosity of humerus, or where the joint line is, where is going to be your, where is your acromioclavicular joint, and how do you palpate your acromioclavicular or sternoclavicular joint? How do you palpate your ligament? How do you palpate your intertubercular sulcus and probably your tendon of a biceps? So this type of a study, this type of an evaluation, this type of a training process is not being done in a curriculum, because our curriculum has something called as clinical anatomy. It does not carry that is something called as functional anatomy or surface anatomy. So we are looking down for changes taking place because this is what is essential for a physical therapist, because we are going to do a practical training, we are going to do a practical evaluation, we are going to do a practical assessment on a structure that is absolutely unseen. So this discussion is very important because we are supposed to learn what we practice, but very unfortunately I put it front that we are not learning actually what we are expected to practice. Our practice is a little different from what is being taught in academic sessions. So this type of sessions is being taken up for training people that what you are supposed to learn is what exactly you are going to practice. Okay, right. What is the objective for today's session? At the end of the session, of course, I'm very sure that you will be able to palpate and feel the bony prominences and the important prominences of extremity of the shoulder complexes, different muscles and muscular groups, and definitely helping you for a best possible accuracy through palpation, helping you for either diagnosis or helping you for a proper treatment or therapeutic management procedure. This is what is the objective that we're looking for. Let us go in for what all things we'll be looking down in the next couple of 40 minutes of training procedures on the points. Right. We all know about it next. We all know about it that your shoulder complex. Your shoulder complex has got so many things that has to be known in for. Number one, we know that we have a clavicle. We know that we have so many components: your sternoclavicular joint, your SCM muscles, your acromioclavicular joint, acromion process, coracoid process, and muscles like pectoralis major, deltoid tuberosities, and biceps brachii, and your fossas. But if I put down a question, are we exactly putting your fingers on the right bony prominence? Are we exactly putting your fingers on the ligament? Are we exactly putting your fingers on the tendon, on the tuberosity? Do we exactly put your fingers to find a diagnosis? Of course, most of us are definitely doing it right, but I still feel that few of us may have to learn it better and have to master it. Right. So a few other things, the posterior components, like your, if you're looking down for a posterior component, maybe we all know we have a scapula, but the question is how far exactly we know where the scapula is and its border in correlation to your spinous processes. Where is the base of the spine? Where is the acromion process? Where is the spinous process? Where is the middle and lateral border of scapula that is going to be there, because you have got a lot of attachments taking place over there. where the other muscles they get trapped, because we see a lot of conditions like trapezius and trapezius. So we should know where the muscle trapezius goes, where the muscle supraspinatus goes. So once you know the surface anatomy, you can palpate them. Of course, probably when you know where your fingers are, your diagnosis is on the spot. You will not miss the diagnosis. All right. Coming down to other sides, maybe we can look in for so many components like deltoids, acromions. So ultimately, these all things we know. We know anatomy. I don't say we do not know. Most of us have mastered anatomy. Most of our professionals are very strong in anatomy and biomechanics, wherein probably we can even compete with anatomists to a certain extent. I do not deny. But the theoretical knowledge, when it comes down to practical applications, somewhere we have a small lacunae, and I have tried to make it a point that this can be better assessed, this can be better taught and learned in this session of your surface palpations and diagnosis. Let's go for your visualizations. Imagine if a patient comes down to us. We have a patient who has come down to us with a shoulder complex problem, maybe a shoulder problem or probably a problem in the upper quadrant somewhere. Unless we know where your clavicles are, unless we know where your acromioclavicular joint is, unless we know where your spinoclavicular joint is, unless we know where your vertebrate process is, or your greater tuberosity, lesser tuberosity is, now it will be difficult for us to identify what went wrong, where it went wrong, and how much it went wrong. Right, and the patient is in front of us in a bare body, and we have to definitely have that knowledge of idea of identifying the structure without a mistake. It's without a mistake, to the maximum possibility of proper approximation to the perfection. I know the words are contradictory. Approximation to the perfection is definitely contradictory, but if you can pursue and palpate a structure approximately to the perfection, it means you are having less likely to miss anatomical structure, to miss a diagnosis. That's what I mean to say when I say about approximation to the perfection. Right. So coming on to the posterior sides, we may have patients who comes down to the shoulder point pain or upper back pain. I mean, if you had to put your finger saying that where the patient has got a pain, so it could be on your spine, spinous process, could be on probably a supraspinatus muscle bulk, or probably tendinous insertion, or infraspinatus muscular bulk, or probably there could be dyskinesia, there could be a problem in the presentation of your scapulae, or there could be a problem in acromioclavicular joint. So where the patient comes down to us, certain times you might have felt that due to diagnosis in the acute or subacute conditions, any special test shows you positive. It could be a problem of shoulder complex, but a special test will show you positive. Okay, any test you do shows positive. So what do we do at that particular time? You have no option than to depend on probably an X-ray or an MRI, or probably a physician or an orthopedician who can help you. But why can't we be reliant on our own self by knowing the proper anatomy, proper functional anatomy, proper palpatory skills for diagnosis? Of course, we can do, because when we can identify what particular point you are going to palpate, what structure is definitely underlying into it, and where your fingers are, it means that structure is injured, damaged, or troubled. If that particular structure is injured, damaged, or troubled, it means that trouble related to that particular structure only can show you the symptom. Okay, example I tell you, if you are palpating exactly on your greater tuberosity of a humerus, we can't expect a problem to be of subscapularis. You can expect a problem could be an insertion of your rotator cuff tendon muscles, could be a problem with your supraspinatus tendon, or could be a infraspinatus tendon, or could be a teres minor, because there is only 3 muscles that is inserted to your greater tuberosity of your humerus. Now, if you can palpate and go along with the supraspinatus tendon, if it is showing you pain throughout the pathway of the supraspinatus muscle tendon, and there is no pain existing for the infraspinatus or probably at teres minor, of course you are right. You are almost away from your rotator cuff injury. You are going to confirm it as supraspinatus muscle injury or tendon injury, because you have eliminated your teres minor and your infraspinatus, because there was no pain on palpation throughout the muscle, but there was a pain on palpation from the insertion of your greater tuberosity of the humerus through the bulk of your supraspinatus muscle. So it is the supraspinatus muscle is going to be injured, not the other two. So instead of roundly or grossly saying it as RC injury, you can specifically say it as a supraspinatus injury. And mind, this particular tendon injuries might show you positive symptoms for any simple test. It can show you RC, any test of shoulder complexes can show you symptoms positive, could be false positive mostly because it's an acute or subacute injury. So whatever test you do, it is going to be positive. But if you can palpate it, it means you are exactly on the anatomical structure and you are less likely to do a mistake and you're less likely to go in for a wrong diagnosis. That is what is my discussion on this presentation is. Let's go in for what all we'll be doing it up in the demonstrations. Okay, the demonstrations we'll be looking down at these joints, acromioclavicular, sternoclavicular, and acromiofemoral joints. We'll be looking at identifying and palpating and marking out a coracoid process with the lesser and greater tuberosities, sulcus, and the coracoid arch. And when you know about palpating these structures on the human body, we will know what can give you a pain where, and that can probably give you what clinical diagnosis as a more easier and simpler manner. I hope this small introduction can help you up. Following the demonstrations, we'll again get back to our revisions and we'll finish it off. Let me get along with my model for it, please. So I submit my thanks to my friend, my model. Right, so he is my model who will be there showing us. I hope everybody can visualize my gentleman over here. First of all, let's start with the most simplest thing that we can look for. All right. Most of you can see the small dent. I think we all have a friend as a model along with you. Maybe a sister, brother, friend, colleague, student, जो भी है. I think you are there with your friend with exposing your shoulder complexes.
Yes.
So most of us can identify it. You can see these are two different prominences. All right. Now these different prominences are nothing but your middle interface clavicle, and you can find a fantastic depression over here. That's your jugular notch. Now, if I could just make a small marking of this individual on this structure, right, and this structure, and this is my jugular notch, a beautiful clavicle. Now, if I can palpate on your friend, if you can palpate, you can find most of your clavicle. This is where it ends. You can find most of the clavicle is found to be above a jugular notch. It means we are studying the anatomy that the clavicle articulates with the sternum only 1/3. 2/3 of clavicle is not articulating with. We all studied in anatomy and biomechanics. It's very clearly found where only 1/3 is found to be articulating and 2/3 is not articulating with. So this provides information that your sternoclavicular joint is not a congruent joint. So providing options that the possibility of dislocating a shoulder complex at your sternoclavicular joint is more, which is being reinforced by, of course, you have multiple ligaments. One of the ligament is going to be this, your interclavicular ligament. We all know about this interclavicular ligament. This is one between a clavicle. Of course, we'll be having your capsule that is covering this structures, and of course, you have an inferior ligament that's your there's a costoclavicular ligament that's providing you. So what does this do? This costoclavicular ligament prevents this particular clavicle to come up, so preventing you for upward dislocations. And this prevents in downward displacement, because this is like this. This particular interclavicular ligament prevents you from downward dislocations, so providing you stability for the clavicle to be in position along with the capsule. So you are less likely to have a dislocation taking place. Now, since we know about this particular point, if a patient comes down to you with the pain in the shoulder complexes, and you assess the patient, and if you find that that's a pain on this point, this is nothing but your elevation. So if you can put your fingers on this elevation, and if it is found to be pain on palpation, not a pressure, it's pain on a mild palpation, it means there is some damage that has happened over here. That could be an injury. Okay, now this damage could be probably because of your capsule that could have got strained, because probably we might have traveled, might have got a strain over here. This problem could be because of your strain of your capsule or probably of your ligaments, or it could be also because of your you have a small disc. You would have studied about your sternoclavicular joint disc. So anything could have been injured. So you put your finger over here, and if it is painful over there, and you just with your pain on, you ask the individual to elevate. If you see the elevation is taking, if you ask the individual to elevate, if elevation causes you pain, it means it is the lower structure, that is your costoclavicular joint ligament, that is going to be injured. Because when elevating it, this is causing you a pain. But when you are depressing it, the pain is on top. The pain is over here. It means the problem is most likely to be at your interclavicular ligament or probably in a capsule. Because when you are depressing it, the clavicle goes down, provides you a stretch over here. So there are possibilities. If there's a pain on palpation and the pain increases, okay, and it is below your clavicle, it is most likely to be a strain of your costoclavicular ligament. And if the pain is found to be there on depression and the pain is above your clavicle, okay, it could be a more possibility of your interclavicular ligament strain, or could be a capsule. So if you would like to confirm about this, you just retract your shoulder complexes, put your fingers and palpate and retract it. Now the pain is exactly on this joint. It means the ligament is safe. It's your capsule of your clavicle or sternoclavicular that is going to be involved, because when you retract it, your clavicle, your capsule gets opened up, causes you a strain. So simple movement, pain on palpation is, of course, if you are on the sternoclavicular joint. Elevation pain, the structure is below it is going to be damaged. Pain on depression, the structure is above is getting damaged. Pain on retraction, the structure that is in front is getting damaged. Now you know what has gone in for a reason. Okay, that's it. You went in, and the history says you went in for a travel. Maybe you traveled in a bus, and suddenly there is a jerk of a brake, and you went in forward, and we got a strain. You know what it is. Of course, the treatment might be the same from orthopedician, but for you the treatment is different, because you know which exercises should be given, which should not be given. Because for these conditions of the capsule, you can never advise them for a retraction exercise, because it's going to cause more trouble. So you should try providing a training program without retracting a scapula. Okay, so that this is not causing a trouble to this is capsule. So simple thing of palpations, simple thing of your anatomy and biomechanics can help you to diagnose structures over here. Let us go ahead with the continuity of this now. Let me have a small fantastic diagram of this clavicle. So beautiful clavicle that's coming over here, and let me palpate. The clavicle comes in over here. The clavicle comes in over here. If you could see this clavicle, all right, most of us could have seen this clavicle is found to be showing you a good concavity. Okay, posterior is concavity. It means that it is protruded. The middle 2/3 is protruded anteriorly. We say it is convex anteriorly, and it is concave, and the lateral 1/3 is concave anteriorly. This is a nice clavicle. Now this nice clavicle, you could find it. Okay, this clavicle ends at one more point on top. If you see from above, you will have one more fantastic elevation on top of this. Now this is the lateral end of the clavicle. This is lateral end of the clavicle. So if you could find it over here, you just see, all right, you have a small elevation over here. This is the lateral end of clavicle. So the clavicle starts from here and it ends in over here. So this lateral end of clavicle is where it is getting attached to one more joint that is called as the acromioclavicular joint. So, okay, because this is a clavicle, so you definitely have an acromion process. Now, just if you put this end and if you put your finger at this end, at the end of this, palpate. If you're right, it's painful. Is it paining? Right. So if you're on, so let us first understand one thing. If you're on the joint line, if you're on the ligament, or if you're on the capsule, I'm telling you, if you're on the joint line, if you're on the ligament, or if you're on the joint line, it means you are exactly, it means, and if it is causing you pain on a mild pressure, it means you are exactly on the point. So because the ligaments has a good nerve supply, your capsule has a good nerve supply. Of course, your joint is also innervated fantastically. So your joint line or a capsule or probably a ligament, any of the structures, if you're palpating exactly on, give a small pressure. If it is painful, not deep pressure, even a mild pressure, if it is painful, it means you are on the structure, and if it is painful on a mild pressure, you are right. You are not listed. So once I mark the structure, it means I know where the acromioclavicular joint is. It's somewhere here. Now let me palpate my acromion. You just only have to abduct a shoulder complex. If you abduct a shoulder complex, you'll find a small depression. Where you finish the clavicle, if you could see, if you find it is flat, you look at this. It's flat. You find a small depression. Right? It means there is no muscle bulk. So it is nothing but a acromion process. So this is a clavicle, it ends. A clavicle ends here and it's a flat structure. This is where the acromion process is. So let me mark my acromion process. Acromion process is here. It comes like this. Right? This is my acromion process. So if you could look at this, I have my lateral end of clavicle and I have acromion process. Now this happens to be my acromioclavicular joint. Now I have, if a patient comes down to me with the pain in the shoulder complexes, now if I palpate it here, it means the problem is the acromioclavicular joint. I don't miss it because I can easily palpate the lateral end of clavicle with the elevation or the prominency of it, and I can find the what you call the flatness over here, mark it, and there is no other structure lying over here except the acromioclavicular joint, and I am done. The patient has got a acromioclavicular joint, wherein patient shows you pain, probably pain and abduction of this AC joint, or pain in adduction of the AC joints, because you have got multiple tests for AC joint available for things. So you just only have to look for the special test to find. Otherwise, if you are there, if your palpation is right, okay, and if it's just a mild pressure is causing a pain, it means there is an AC joint involvement. Wherein if you're giving a pressure, if it's painful, it means you are on the joint. The difference between this much of pressure and probably a small pressure on palpation, that tells you the point your problem is there and you're done. That's a problem of the acromioclavicular joint. Of course, you have multiple ligaments over here, so you can palpate the structures and you'll be able to identify it. You're done with. So it's very easy. Now coming down, let us extend this particular acromion process. Let me take him to the lateral side. So you can find a small shiny structure over here. Most of us can find the small shiny structures over here if you could find. Now this is the small shiny structure. It's nothing but your spine of the scapula. You find a flat surface. I just put you find a flat surface. Now this is the spine of the scapula. So definitely you have a vertebral spine over here. So this spinous process comes like this. Alright. And you have a small flat surface. It's quite soft and soft. Now this is nothing but the surface above your spinous, surface below the spinous. So definitely this becomes your supraspinous fossa. Alright, now when you know supraspinous fossa, let me mark it up over here. This becomes your supraspinous fossa. This goes down, so definitely you have an anatomy node. You have a muscle that is called a supraspinatus muscle. So this particular muscle goes from here under your acromion process and gets somewhere attached over here. Let us come down to it later. So there is something that is coming over here that is called infraspinatus area, muscle that goes in like this. And okay, so this is infraspinatus. So spinous process, supra and infraspinous process. And I just keep palpating and coming along with my structures. Right, we take the structures along. This structure takes me down, and this structure I find once. Okay, if we just palpate my lateral components, and I find right, fine. So this is where I find. That's good. Right, nice. So this is where I find. Beautiful. Right, right. And this is where it's going to be there. That's what it comes. This is my middle border of my scapula, right? The lateral border of scapula. This is my spinous process. So you find a beautiful spinous process. So now since you have a beautiful spinous process that is found to be here, alright, you have a nice what you call the scapula. You have a nice scapula over here. It is very simple. So the structure that is going to be attached from here is a supraspinatus muscle, is your infraspinatus muscle, alright? And of course what you have here is your teres minor, and what you have here, if those goes down like this, is your teres major. So when a patient comes down to you with a shoulder complex pain, okay, forget about all this structure. If you palpate and come along with the structure, pain is still persisting on this. It means somewhere your supraspinatus muscle is getting involved. If a pain is just below your spinous process, okay, and you palpate and come along, it means the infraspinatus muscle is going to be involved. And just 2 fingers down, if you find the pain is somewhere existing, it means your teres minor is going to be involved. So You put your fingers supraspinatus, put your finger in infraspinatus, 2 fingers down, put your fingers here to the spine. Right, so you can find 3 muscles. If pain is persistent in all these 3 muscles on palpation, it means all the 3 muscles are involved. When you say all the 3 muscles are involved, it means your rotator cuff muscle bulk is going to be involved somewhere. Right, so it's a muscular. So you can have muscular, you can have a RC muscular cuff tear, or you can have an RC muscle injury. There's a difference. A cuff tear is always found to be in this region. Okay, we'll come around. But this could be a muscular injury, maybe a cuff tear that has gone down to extension of inflammation of these muscles also. Just a cuff tear will show you pain over here. Cuff tear with muscular inflammations, with muscular injuries, okay, or muscular overstraining activities can show you pain in this region. So you know the fossa, your spine, and one more here, and just 2 fingers down, you'll find a muscle that's going to be a teres minor. Of course, from here you have a teres minor muscles. So if you can palpate, then you'll be able to identify this particular muscles. Now let us go for other areas of musculature which can help your pain. Now this is going to be your, okay, the rule. This is your medial angle of the scapula. This is your inferior angle of the scapula. Now this middle angle of scapula is important because this gives you rise to one more muscle that is called as your levator scapulae. Alright, so this gives rise to the muscle that is called as levator scapulae. So when a patient complains of pain, okay, from the cervical region, and if you can palpate a middle and rough angle of the scapula, if this is your pathway of pain, either on palpation, this is the pathway of pain, that is the pain is transferring or radiating. It means it is not trapezius, it is your levator scapulae, because trapezius goes the other direction. Trapezius goes this direction. So if the pain, I'll just show you. This is your trapezius. So if the pain is found to be in this pathway, it means your trapezius. The pain is traveling from the middle and rough of your angle of scapula to the cervical. It means this is your levator scapulae. So if you palpate the individual, the patient might have a pain. Maybe let us have the patient has got a pain. The pain is traveling in this direction. It means a muscle that is involved is different. The pain is traveling in this direction. It means the muscle involved is different. So it's going to be trapezius. This is going to be levator scapulae. So you just palpate it and you know which muscle is involved. Of course, your trigger points. You know all the palpatory skills of palpating your trigger points, your satellite and your latent points. Of course, you'll be able to diagnose them. But this will give you information about your levator scapulae and the trapezius. And below the trapezius is going to be a supraspinatus muscle that's going to be palpated and painful over here. So pains. This is your pathway where you get the pain. So the pathway of the pain on palpation, how it travels, how it radiates, how it goes down, will help you what structure is involved. Most of us again have an issue when it comes down to other muscles. That before you go for this particular group of muscles, let us come down to the anterior to the lateral components. Now we have found the acromion. Alright, we have found the acromion. We just abducted. Most of you would have seen when you abduct the individual, you will find this flattened structure ends. And you have a beautiful muscular bulk that comes. That's a deltoid. Right? We all know about it. Right? So if you could find the deltoid is not covering the superior part of your shoulder complex. It is here. The deltoid is not somewhere here. There is no coloring of the shoulder complex. So the shoulder complex has got only a beautiful covering done by your supraspinatus muscle, wherein your deltoid starts from here. This is how your deltoid goes. So this is your bulk. The deltoid is not here on the anterior, it is there here. This is the bulk of a deltoid. So most of us might be having a small perceptions that we have been thinking deltoid is somewhere in the anterior or superior to the shoulder complex. No, the deltoid bulk is here. It is not. What you can find here is a flat bony surface that is nothing but your acromion process. Right. Once into the acromion process, let me come down to the anterior side. We all know about, we have drawn this clavicle. We have to identify the clavicle. If you can find the lateral end of clavicle, you palpate it. From the lateral end, what you do over here is, if you have, you can put 3 fingers on the lateral ends. Put 3 fingers on the lateral ends. Okay, this is the lateral end. I put 3 fingers, and your middle finger will hit on a bony prominence. Is it painful? You can find just in the lateral end you put 3 fingers your middle finger will hit on a bony prominence. Kindly mark that. Now this particular point is your coracoid process. Okay, so lateral end, I keep it here. I put 3 fingers on the lateral end, and this hits the bony prominence. You can find bony. It's painful. It's painful. Okay, now you are on the coracoid process. Beautiful. Now you know the coracoid process. You know the abdomen process. This is the abdomen arch. Alright, now this looks absurd in anatomy because as far as we have been looking on for coracoid is somewhere here. That's what probably I also pursued initially, that the coracoid arch is somewhere in the lateral side. So when I am abducting, probably this particular tendon gets involved, gets impinged somewhere. No, if you could find, it is anterolateral. It is partially antero, partially lateral. Alright, so it means this is the CA arch. Okay, so this is your arch, and so naturally when you look into the muscle goes like this. So if you take, this is the direction of the muscle goes like this. Okay, so let me look over here. This is how your muscle travels. Alright, from posteriorly it comes down anteriorly and laterally. It travels, and it travels over here. Okay, and fortunately or unfortunately, we would say this muscle comes down like this, and it gets inserted to some structures over here. This muscle travels from here. Okay, from here, infrasternal muscle travels from here, comes and gets attached to over here again. Alright, so if you, this is where somebody goes. So if you could again, you know the lateral end of the clavicle, from the lateral end, we just put one finger, okay, just put one finger, and the second finger will hit you on a bony prominence. Okay, you can just move your fingers, or you can do lateral and intermediate rotations. Just from the lateral end of the clavicle, put one finger down, and a second finger will hit you on a bony prominence. You rotate it medial and lateral, you will come across that bony prominence is hitting your finger. You are on your greater tuberosity. Okay, now that bony prominence is going greater tuberosity, and if you can mark your greater tuberosity, okay, your supraspinatus muscle travels and comes and gets attached to greater tuberosity here. Infraspinatus muscle attached to supraspinatus muscle over here. Right, so this is where is going to be your, okay, this is where is going to be your greater tuberosity of your humerus. So when a patient comes down to you with probably a shoulder complex pain, now you are suspecting the patient to have a rotator cuff injury or a supraspinatus tendinitis or probably a tendinitis at the insertional component. You did not do a lot of trials. You can just palpate. They get a shorts off. Look on for the lateral palpation. You can find the lateral end of the clavicle palpated. That's good enough. One finger down, second finger down. You put your finger, you are on the greater tuberosity. You just only have to move it. And if you are giving a pressure, if it is causing him pain, it means you are on the common insertion of rotator cuff muscles, because you are exactly palpating and putting your fingers on the greater tuberosity. You will not miss it because you are now on the greater tuberosity, which gives the insertion of your RC muscles. That's your supraspinatus, infraspinatus, and your teres minor. Alright, so this indicates that you are less likely to make a mistake of missing a diagnosis of supraspinatus tendinitis or probably a rotator cuff injury or rotator cuff injury. Now, again, what I would like to say is most of us think, I was also in a this thing of thinking that my injury, if I have supraspinatus tendinitis, it will be someone's lateral form. No, it is not lateral. It is found to be anterolateral. So when I palpate this is my area where I get the palpation pain. Alright, and now I know this coracoid process. I know this. Now the midpoint, if I take this axilla, the midpoint is the joint line. So this is the shoulder joint line. I put my finger on the joint line, okay, and I'm abducting it, okay. I'm abducting it. Definitely, I'd find nothing is hitting my finger. okay, you can palpate and there is nothing hitting your fingers. But if you just come little more laterally, you can find the bone is actually moving. So okay, the bone is actually moving. So it means you are on the humerus. So these 2 points, the midpoint, again I'm repeating to you, this is a coracoid process, this is a greater tuberosity, this midpoint, draw a straight line, that happens to be your joint line of the shoulder complexes. Helping you to know this line will help you to do manual therapies. You can just exactly keep your hand where you are supposed to give a glide to the humerus, where you are supposed to stabilize, where you are supposed to give a posterior glide. This will help you to provide a posterior glide because you are exactly on the joint line. Structure that is going to be lateral to this is your humerus. Now, since you know the joint line, now we know this midpoint. At the joint line, okay, you are putting a finger. Alright, it means you are almost at your glenoid fossa, your labrum. Alright, so a patient comes down to you, complains of shoulder complex pains, pain over here is different, pain over here is different, and between is a joint line. You know the joint line, put your finger at this point and you just give a palpation. If it is painful, it means you're on the labrum. So on pressure it is painful, but otherwise if you just give a mild pressure, if it is painful, there is every possibility of having a labral tear. You need not go in for, because it is palpability. This is called as 99% sensitive. You are not going to miss because you are on the joint line. And if it is on the joint line, of course, you might have a problem with the capsule. But since it is going to be the anterior part, so usually the anterior part of the labrum gets damaged. So you are most likely to have your labral injury diagnosis on palpation because you are not here, neither you are here. It just needs a small palpation. Of course, there is a small what you call dip, or we say it is a small dent. You are there over here, so it's a labral injury. So you will not miss it. Now, once you put your finger, if there is no pain, it's good. Once you put your finger on the joint line, you just take your individual's hand into 90 degrees and rotate it laterally. When you rotate it laterally, you will find one more body problem that is coming and hitting your finger. That's your lesser tuberosity, because lesser tuberosity is inside. Lesser tuberosity because your subscapularis muscle that is coming from the anterior part of the scapula travels down from behind and comes anteriorly and gets inserted over here, providing internal rotations. So once you rotate it laterally, this structure will pop out and you will have a pain. So this is where you will be able to find. So you need not do much. If these 2 structures, the midpoint, joint line, from joint line, just one finger down, you put your finger, palpate, you are on the labrum. Put your finger in the same place, rotate it laterally, you will have bony problem that is hitting your finger. It means you are there on your lesser tuberosity. If it is going to be painful and pressure, it means that the supraspinatus muscle is also injured for some other reasons. So let's try to do a mistake. Alright, now this point is causing you pain. You might have a confusion. Sir, what if you have a capsular trouble? What if you have a capsular damage? The capsular damage can cause you a pain throughout the joint line. But even if you go down, you will get a pain in the capsular. Even if you will get a pain here in the lower part. But if it is a labral tear, there will be no pain in the lower part. You will have a pain only in the upper part. That is between these 2 lines. You have this particular intersection point. Just one finger down. Because your labral does not get injured in the lower part. It gets injured only in the anterior or anterosuperior regions, not in inferior regions. So you're less likely to go in for a mistake. You can say with confidence that there's a possibility of this structure being injured. Maybe your orthopedicians or physicians might say yes or no for it, but of course that's secondary for us. But this is how you can palpate your structures to identify these areas. Now once you are done with, of course it is easy for you. Now you know the structure. So when I have a patient comes down to you, I need not take a lot of time. I know this point, my clavicle, my abdomen process, my greater tuberosity. Fine, I know this point and the joint line. I put my finger on the acromioclavicular joint. AC injury is there. I put my finger just 2 fingers down, bony prominence. It could be a supraspinatus tendinitis. I just palpate throughout the muscle. If the pain is throughout the muscle, it means that the muscle is injured completely. If there is no pain in the muscle throughout, only this particular point is painful, it means that's an insertional trouble of the supraspinatus muscle. And the same thing I can do it for mastic cuff tear or muscle involvement also. And I can look on for this greater tuberosity, lesser tuberosity, joint line pain. coracoid arch. Okay, and probably if I since I know this, in between I know this that there is a lesser tuberosity here, greater tuberosity here. Between there's a space. If you can put your finger and you can palpate, you'll find some rope-like structure that is going click, click, click between your fingers. You feel this click, click, some rope-like moving. All right. So I have this greater tuberosity. I have this joint line. In the between space, you put your finger and you move. You'll find a click, click, click rope line. Now that is your biceps tendon. So if you are right on the part, put your finger and palpate. You are not on the tuberosity, you are not on the lesser tuberosity, you are in between. You are the structures. Alright. And if you just palpate it and if you are there painful, it means that you are on the biceps tendon. It's most likely to be a biceps tendinitis. Confirm it. You need not do a special test for supraspinatus tear or a RC tear or probably other muscles. Do a confirmation test only for a biceps tendinitis and it is positive. You save your time. It's easy for you to diagnose. Of course, there are so many things for therapeutic issues also they can look in for it. That's a small example. I'm trying to look in for it over here. There are a lot of things that we can do for diagnosis and treatment on palpation. Since we're running in short of time, we'll try to finish up with few more things to discuss for next around 7 to 8 minutes. What I would like to see, tell you from behind is this. Now, we know this, we have seen about it. Biomechanics tells you, okay, of the biomechanics books do tell you the same thing of your surface anatomies, helping you for a diagnosis. If I take a straight line, maybe if I take a straight line, draw this. This is most likely to be a T4, most likely to be a T7 because the scapula lies between your T4 and your T7. Alright? Again, maybe a small, maybe I drawn a line. This is supposed to be straight like this, or straight like this. Alright? So this is most likely to be your T4 region or could be a T7 regions. Alright? Simple. Patient comes down with upper back pain. You are suspecting him to have a D4 syndrome. Don't need not palpate all your bones. Take probably if you have a ruler, take these two structures. You have these two scapular middle borders. Draw a straight line and put your fingers on palpation. The pain is going to be here. It is most likely that you are on the spinous process of your D4. You get D4 syndrome, right? And one more biomechanical aspect you are looking for. If patient comes down to you with rotator, my patient comes down to you with multiple problems here, you say you've got a protracted shoulder, retracted shoulder, or elevated shoulder. How do you say about this? This is D4, this is D7. This is anatomy, this is mechanics. Usually this is what is being found. Now, if I can mark this to these two, they are supposed to follow in a straight line. Alright. Now, what I do here is one thing I should look in for here from the spinous process to this and this. This is usually 5 to 6 centimeters. This is usually 7 to 8 centimeters. The distance between your spinous process to the middle angle of the scapula, the distance between spinous process and the inferior angle of scapula is usually 5 to 6 centimeters or usually around 7 to 8 centimeters. Usually. Not a hard and fast rule, but it is usually. Now imagine if the patient has got a little more protracted scapula like this. Okay, wherein the distance increases. Now you can say he has a protracted scapula because you have a more increase in distance from this to this. So 5 to 6 maximum depending upon the breadth of a shoulder complexes, 7 to 8 centimeters maximum. So if he is sitting down normally, sits right normally, alright. So this is his position, this is his position. If you are sitting little relaxed, this is his position. Sitting protracted, it goes back. So the more you sit protracted, the more the scapula lays away. So we are sitting in a simple relaxed position. If this distance is found to be around, is found to be 5 to 6 or 7 to 8, it means it is normal. If it is more than that, we say it is protracted shoulder, indicating you could be a weakness of these retractors or it could be tightness of your forward protractor. That is your pectoralis major muscles. So your diagnosis can be made simple because this is mechanics. I have nothing to do with it. This is anatomy. I have nothing. I cannot change it. There can be minor changes, but otherwise things are comfortable. There is no problem into it. Second thing, my D4 region. I have a patient who comes down to me that this is like this. Okay, and I measure this. Maybe one more flow shows you like this. I have a confusion whether this is found to be depressed or this is elevated or this is normal or this is normal because something is elevated, something is depressed. Okay, now how do I check it? How do I check it? Okay, the first thing is, okay, the first thing is, if I can palpate my D4, if you can palpate my D4, I draw a straight line from a D4 to this and D4 to this, whichever gives me an angle. Alright. Usually, you don't have a depressed shoulder complex. Usually you have an elevated shoulder complex. The scapular bed is elevated. So you can say this fellow has got an elevated shoulder complex. So because depression of shoulder does not happen unless you have weakness of your trapezius or weakness of levator scapulae, or you have a strong tight latissimus dorsal. So weakness it doesn't happen over here. It could be either tightness or shortness. They can always cause you an elevation. So you can simply say this shoulder is elevated because that the line is not being maintained. There are so many other components of tipping and stuff, but of course let us not go into much of this detail because of running short of time. So these things will help you to find, okay, the position of the scapula will help you to find whether the muscles are going to be weak, whether you can do an MMT or you can do it for a length test. That will tell you about whether it is going to be short or weak or whatever is going to be, that is a what you call mal length or mal strength, or what you call balances. You can go in for your assessment and therefore you can go in for a management accordingly without taking much of an effort into it for a diagnostic. Okay, this is something about in short how we can look on for. In the next 45 minutes I wanted to go in, and the 45 minutes I wanted to say something about the palpations and about your palpation skill for diagnosis and management. So let us stop it with this over here with a small revision of what we are looking for. The slide sheet. I know I have a little fast because the content is supposed to be is large and we will not be able to finish it up faster. I'm making it a little faster. So we have seen a couple of these things over here: palpation of clavicle, your scapula, abdomen, your process, and of course the clavicle and inclusive of your thoracomain arch. So most of you would have tried palpating it on your friends. Probably just do it again, and we have seen the relationship of the scapula. And you have seen about the relationship of the scapula along with the other structures. We have seen a couple of them. We have not discussed about the musculatures as of now because there's a huge area to be discussed on. We went in form. Alright. And we have seen a couple of them of discussions on your next. Okay. On palpating a humerus, a greater tubercle and a lesser tubercles. We have found how we can find a greater tubercle over here. Again, repeating to you, the bony prominences, medial angle plus 2 fingers, 3 fingers, the middle finger will definitely fall into this. We have seen about how to palpate your humerus, your thoracoid process, the greater tuberosity, lesser tuberosity, joint line, and your tendon in between, and how it can be helpful for you for diagnosis. We have seen those things in the previous discussions. Alright, and we have seen how your presentation of the clavicle of your RC muscles are going to be, and how it can be palpated. As I said about if the pain is there in the line of your muscle, it means the muscle is injured. And if the pain is going to be at the joint, palpation means that particular insertional tendon, the tendon is going to be inserted, the insertion point is going to be injured, so we can come for a diagnosis to a certain extent easily enough. Okay, this is how probably you might have had this, but your presentation of your supraspinatus muscle, infraspinatus, and the minors and the majors, okay, on your anatomies. Okay, that's going on. So with this, I'll stop. Okay, the presentations. What I like to mention over here is that, okay, there is absolutely nothing here. So this is where you are having it. So there is no muscle except a capsule. There is nothing beneath your shoulder complex. We have seen anatomy about it. So be little precautions enough when you go for assessment management of the inferior subluxations or dislocation of the shoulder complex. I wanted to include in this. Alright. So I have a small thought of thing. Your clinic has got a patient of shoulder complex shoulder dysfunction. We're expected to treat the acromioclavicular joint, mobilize acromioclavicular joint. I hope you will be able to palpate the acromioclavicular joint, and of course your mobilization techniques is different, but you won't miss palpating and holding a joint for mobilizations. You won't miss palpating, identifying the sternoclavicular joint and giving you a mobilizations or a treatment. You won't miss your glenohumeral joint exactly on the joint line to provide you mobilizations. You won't miss your scapulothoracic joint also without. Okay, so I anticipate that you will not miss your identification of those bony prominences. Okay, and wherever you're going to palpate, if you're palpating it on the joint line, palpating it on the capsule, palpating it on the ligament, it's going to be painful. If it is painful, it means you are on the right area, right part to be palpated. If it is palpation on pressure, it is normal. If it is palpation on mild pressure, it causes you a pain. It means the structure is involved. And this structure your finger is on, it means the structure only is involved, and the diagnosis can be confirmed without going for any further special test unless and otherwise needed, or you need not go in for any diagnostic evaluation of imaging unless needed. Otherwise, if you're confident about your anatomy, your skills of palpation, and your biomechanics, of course, your diagnosis can be made easier in a more easier way. Next. So, what's the work for your mind is now. I have a patient who's been referred to you for increasing range of motion of cervical spines. Okay, the patient has got difficulty to move your cervical spine. He has got decreased range of motion of cervical spine. The question is, will you treat your cervical spine for range of motion? Will you treat trapezius for range of motion? Will you treat rhomboidus or the retractors for the improving the cervical range of motion? Will you treat a pectoralis for improving ranges of motion? Because this is to be looked on for. Any of these structures can cause you a decrease in range of motion of the shoulder of your neck. You cannot say range of motion of neck is reduced, so I'll go for a manipulation, I'll go for a chiropractic, and I can go in for mobilization. Need not. Find where the problem is, whether it is a cervical spine, trapezius, rhomboidus, major, pectoralis. I just give a small example. How to go in for a small example. If he is not able to rotate more than this, okay, and you think the problem is there with the cervical spine range of motion, okay, you think the problem is at your zygapophyseal joint, there is no mobility at the bony component, fine, you may be right, but why, how come this could not happen if you have a tight trapezius? Because if you have to rotate it, the trapezius is supposed to give you the length. If the trapezius is not longer, then you will not be able to rotate. So what you can do, just simply elevate the shoulder complex, and if the range of motion is increased, it means that the bone, the joint is free to move. It is not able to complete because the trapezius is not very loose. Now the trapezius is in the neutral position, you cannot complete a range, okay, but the trapezius in the shortened position can complete your range. The problem now is the trapezius, not in the cervical. So there is no point in you working on the cervical spines. So just a small example, I would say that you just have to look for which muscle is tight. So elevated trapezius, and if still there is no range of motion, it means the trapezius is fine. Your problem is there in your cervical zygapophyseal joint, which is limiting your movement. So this is where a small ideology of common sense, mechanics, anatomy, and palpation skills through observations can help you for a diagnosis, which can limit you, okay, which can actually help you for limiting a time spent on assessment and limit the time that is spent for management process in a clinical practices. I hope this was comfortable, useful, and something beneficial for you. And I stop my presentation with this. Thanks a lot. Thanks to the model. And I sincerely thank few people. Our principal, Dr. Disha Palekar, for permitting to use this lab, for permitting us to execute over here, and my colleagues, definitely Mr. Ajay Marshikre and Mr. Physio Akhil Samson, because they are technical people who have been supporting me, my own physios, my own colleagues who have helped me in this particular presentation. Of course, this small guy who has been volunteering here as a model for this presentation. Thanks a lot. Hope it was good from my side to you. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. It was indeed a wonderful demonstration, sir. Hello. Sir,
Yes,
am I audible? Yes, sir.
You're audible, Neha.
Yes, sir. We'll take a few questions.
Yeah, fine.
Sir, so Maeve is asking if the pain occurs in between medial border of scapula, then what may be the diagnosis, or how do we go ahead?
Okay, pain occurring in the medial border of scapula, right? Fine. We should not forget about few important things. Okay, it could be, let us know, it could be, usually it happens because of a weak rhomboidus major and minor, which is usually under-examined or under-diagnosed. Because it is a rhomboidus major and minor that is attaching to your middle border of scapula in the lower 2/3. The upper 2/3 definitely has got your other muscle. So if it is the lower 2/3 is usually your weakness of your rhomboidus major and minor, that usually is a mechanical trouble. Because when a rhomboidus major and minor are found to be stretched because of protraction or because of your tiredness, the insertional point at the scapula becomes stressed. and you become sensitive and you get the pain. And these guys will show you pain both in protraction and also in retraction, because retraction the muscle strongly contracts, it causes you a pain. Protraction, the muscle is getting stretched and it puts a load on your middle border of the scapula. It also causes you a pain. So it's most likely expected to be a rhomboideus major and minor stress.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you. So the next question, Nafisa has asked, whenever there is a complete rotator cuff tear, which causes pain at the muscle bulk over the scapula too. So how do we differentiate?
Complete rotator cuff will tear. Okay.
Yes, sir. Pain in the muscle bulk over, and that radiates towards the scapula too. So what do we do?
Okay, let me make it very clear. When you have a complete RC muscular, a cuff tear, you will not be experiencing a pain at the insertional point, because it's a complete tear. It usually does not occur unless there is a severe damage.
Okay.
Okay, if it's a complete tear at the insertion, you won't be getting a pain at the palpation at the insertional point, because the connectivity between the muscle bulk and the tendon is lost, so you won't be feeling a pain. All right, the movement will be highly restricted. Of course, the history will your history along with your action of your function can diagnose.
Yes, sir. Okay. So then Priyanka asked this question. So what if there is painful shoulder and swelling on medial side of scapula? What would be the diagnosis?
Painful?
Painful shoulder and swelling over the medial side of the scapula. What would be the prognosis and diagnosis?
Okay, painful at the middle border of the scapula. Okay, fine. See, number one, let me not forget, there are possibility of having a T4 syndrome that can cause the radiating pain from your T4 spinous process to your base of your spine. So where the pain is exactly, number one. Number one, the pain is found to be above your spinous process, at the spinous process, or below the spinous process. That tells you which structure could have been involved. If it is at the spinous process, okay, in parallel to that of your T4 spine, it could be a T4 syndrome because of your posture, because of your problem at your interspinous ligaments, or could be a zygomatic joint dysfunction of the T4 regions. If it is above, it could be because of your stress taken up by your upper trapezius or probably a levator scapulae. Usually this happens because of students, or because of long computer work or long flexion of neck complexes, which causes you extreme stress on a levator scapulae muscle. If it is found to be below, as I said previously, it could be because of your rhomboideus muscles.
Okay, sir. Okay. So the next question is from Avni. She asks that if there is any link to learn further for the functional palpations and books for reference, sir.
See, there is no specific books available to learn on this, but we have a couple of ways. We can look on for the book of anesthesia from the medical fraternity people. They have a lot of things over there. Of course, Ian Chaitlow's what you call postural release technique, okay, gives us some information here and there, but you'll have to gather it from multiple areas. There is no specific book available on palpation skills alone, as far as my knowledge goes.
Okay, sir. Okay. Sir, how do we differentiate between bone pain and ligament pain?
Okay, fine. Differentiate between bone pain and ligament pain. That's a good question. A ligament pain is deep. It's found to be sharp. When you are on the palpation of the ligament, put your finger on the ligament, and the pain is sharp. Okay, you need not give a pressure. You just put your finger on that. It is literally sharp enough, and the patient winces. Bone pain and palpation is definitely hard, deep, and it is like a stabbing one, where you find it a little hard. You cannot say exactly the pain is here, but the pain is hard. It is of a larger area, okay, and it is stabbing type of a pain. But whereas the ligament pain is sharp and it is found to be very wincing. The ligament pain is more stronger and severe, okay, than a bony pain on experiences, unless you have a fracture.
Okay, so there are really more number of questions, but as we are running out of time, I shall post you the questions, sir, so that we can mail up the participants in the WhatsApp group later on, sir.
It's a pleasure.
Now yes, it was pleasure hearing to you, sir, again after a long time. It was a very wonderful demonstration, sir. Sir, I would now call upon Dr. Sheetal Ghule ma'am for giving us the vote of thanks for today's webinar.
Thank you.
Over to you, Sheetal ma'am. Sheetal ma'am, please unmute yourself. You're not audible. Yes, ma'am. Now.
I, Dr. Sheetal Ford, Latur, IIT Human Cell, District Sub-Coordinator and working as Assistant Professor at Maharashtra Institute of Physiotherapy, College, Latur. I wish you a very good afternoon to one and all. First of all, I would like to propose heartily vote of thanks to our resource person, Professor Dr. Vijay Kumar sir, for gracing today's webinar. Thank you, sir, for your very interesting, meaningful, and thought-provoking webinar. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence. I would like to express our profound gratitude to our respected IIP President Dr. Sanju Jha sir for presence in this webinar. I would also like to thank our beloved national head, Dr. Ruchi Varshani ma'am, for support and guidance. I will like express our sincere thanks to West Zonal Head Dr. Pooja Kamble ma'am and Maharashtra State Coordinator Dr. Suvarna Ganvir ma'am for their enormous this webinar of this organization. I also wish to express my gratitude to State Joint Coordinator Dr. Snehal Patel ma'am for providing us a help throughout this successful webinar. I also extend my gratitude and thanks to the IAP technical team for sparing valuable time and our State Coordinator Dr. Uttara ma'am, Dr. Nirali, Dr. Priya Karande ma'am who have made this webinar grand success through their support and for making this webinar great success. I would like to thank the participants for your cooperation, presence, and for your overwhelming response toward this webinar of today. We hope that you have learned the surface palpation and diagnosis of the shoulder complex. Kindly help us improve through your feedback form and link has been posted in the chat box. I once again extend my greeting to all. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you
So we
much.
have,
so much.
yes, sir. So we have a number of chat messages saying that it was a wonderful presentation. Thank you for such short time presentation that we would do today. But people are expecting something more also, and they are thanking you for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, on the behalf of Maharashtra Institute of Physiotherapy and from the IIP Women's Cell, Latur District. Thank you so much, sir. See you again, sir.
My pleasure, ma'am. Thank you.
Nice.
On behalf of IAP technical team, thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful practical demonstration, and thank you Latur District Women's Cell branch for organizing such webinars. Again, I request to all the participants, please like and subscribe IAP India YouTube channel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.